On the alien world of Valdara, a place lost in the depths of the galaxy, there existed a legend older than the stars themselves. The planet was known for its vast, mountainous landscapes, dense jungles, and strange, shimmering lakes that stretched as far as the eye could see. But it wasn't just the beauty of Valdara that attracted travelers from all corners of the galaxy. It was the mystery that lay hidden in its ancient ruins. In the heart of Valdara, deep within the forgotten temple of Zorthar, lay an artifact so powerful that no being had ever been able to lift it. It was the Sword of Atheon, a weapon forged by the gods themselves, said to be imbued with the power of the cosmos. Many had come seeking the sword, believing it held the key to unimaginable power. But no one, no alien, no creature, no being had been able to move it. It lay on a pedestal, untouched for millennia, its blade glowing faintly with a strange, ethereal light. The legend was clear. Only the one with a heart as unyielding as steel could wield it. Among those who came to Valdara in search of the sword was an unlikely visitor, a human named Nathaniel Ford. Nathaniel was a simple man, not a warrior, but a technician, someone who had worked with machines and computers his whole life. He wasn't a hero by anyone's standards, and yet his journey to Valdara had brought him here, standing before the fabled sword. He had come to the planet on a routine exploration mission, part of a team sent to document ancient alien artifacts. Valdara was a place of intrigue for scholars and explorers alike, but there was something about the Sword of Atheon that called to him. Unlike the other members of the expedition, who were focused on the technology and ruins of Valdara's ancient civilization, Nathaniel couldn't help but be drawn to the sword, which was rumored to be the key to unlocking the planet's lost history. The rest of the crew had already attempted to lift the sword, each of them using their advanced technology, their alien abilities, or their physical strength. But all had failed. The Xanthari, with their massive alien bodies, couldn't budge the sword. The Zilnorians, with their telekinetic powers, couldn't even shift it a centimeter. And the powerful humanoid warriors of the Karza clans, with their unrivaled strength, had been unable to move the sword despite their best efforts. Nathaniel, however, wasn't interested in proving anything. He wasn't a warrior or a fighter, and the sword had always seemed like a myth to him. But as the crew left the temple, disheartened by their failure, Nathaniel remained. He stepped forward, his eyes locked on the sword as he approached the pedestal. The moment his hand brushed the hilt of the sword, a strange hum vibrated through the air. The light surrounding the blade intensified, filling the chamber with a brilliant glow. Nathaniel's heart raced. He had no idea why, but something deep inside him told him that he was different from the others. His thoughts were not of power or glory, but of understanding. He wasn't here to conquer the sword. He was here to understand its purpose. As his fingers wrapped around the hilt, the sword didn't resist. It felt right, as though it had been waiting for him all along. The moment he lifted it, the ground beneath him trembled, and the very air seemed to shift. The other members of the expedition, who had been watching from a distance, rushed back into the chamber, their eyes wide with disbelief. How? How did you lift it? One of the Zilnorians asked, his voice trembling with awe. Nathaniel stood there, holding the sword in his hand, feeling a connection to it that went beyond reason. He wasn't sure how or why, but the blade felt as natural in his grip as any tool he had ever used. The sword hummed with energy, its ethereal glow brighter than ever before, as if it were alive. The power coursing through him was overwhelming, but not threatening. He felt no desire for conquest, no hunger for dominance. Instead, he felt a deep sense of responsibility, as though the sword had chosen him to fulfill a purpose he could not yet understand. The Zilnorian who had spoken before stared at Nathaniel in shock. "It's impossible," he murmured. "No alien, no being has ever been able to lift the sword. It was said that only the purest heart could wield it, but we never believed it was true. The Zilnorians, the Xanthari, and the Karza clans had all believed that the sword's legend was a myth, an ancient tale passed down to warn of its power. No one had dared believe that it was real or that anyone could lift it. But here, in front of them, Nathaniel had done the impossible. He had proven the legend true. "Why?" one of the Xanthari warriors asked, his voice filled with awe. "How is it that a human, a mere human, could lift the sword when we, beings of great strength and power, could not?" Nathaniel looked at the sword, the weight of its history pressing down on him. "I don't know," he said quietly, "but maybe it's not about strength. Maybe it's about understanding what this sword truly represents." He paused, his mind racing with the significance of the moment. Maybe the sword wasn't meant to be lifted by strength or power. Maybe it was meant to be lifted by the heart of someone who seeks to protect, not conquer. The words hung in the air, resonating deeply with everyone in the room. The Xanthari, the Zilnorians, and the Karza clans had all been driven by their own desires for power, for victory, and for glory. But Nathaniel, a simple human, had approached the sword with no such intentions. He had simply sought to understand it, to unlock its secrets. As Nathaniel held the sword aloft, the air seemed to grow still, and the chamber was filled with an ancient, reverberating voice. "You have unlocked the truth," the voice said. "The sword was never meant to be wielded by those who seek power. It was meant to be wielded by those who seek to protect, to preserve, and to honor the lives of others. You, human, have proven that your heart is pure." The voice grew quieter, but its message was clear. Nathaniel, a simple technician, had proven that the power of the sword was not in its strength, but in its ability to be wielded by those who sought to defend, to protect, and to understand. As the glow of the sword slowly faded, Nathaniel lowered it gently to his side. The expedition members stood in silence, their minds racing with the implications of what had just occurred. The sword, once thought to be a weapon of destruction, had now become a symbol of hope and protection. Nathaniel's life had changed forever. He had come to Valdara simply to explore, but now he found himself in possession of a weapon whose power transcended anything he could have imagined. The sword was not a tool for conquest. It was a tool for peace. In the days that followed, Nathaniel and the expedition returned to their ship, but the message of the sword stayed with them. The other species, who had once sought to use the sword for their own purposes, now realized that it was not theirs to control. They had failed because they were driven by ambition. But Nathaniel had succeeded because he sought only to understand. And as they left Valdara behind, Nathaniel looked out at the stars, knowing that he had unlocked the true power of the Sword of Atheon, not by lifting it, but by understanding the heart of what it truly represented.